You know, I love that little globe from last year.
Oh, did you?
Oh, we're right in our living room on a little bookshelf.
Well, this
It's really
this
pretty.
gift is much more lavish.
Oh, I'm excited. Thank you. Very thoughtful.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting of the Cincinnati Board of Park Commissioners to order for our regular December meeting. Welcome, everybody, to beautiful Eden Park with me. Our commissioners, Lindner, Castellini, and Molly North. Our fifth commissioner, our vice president, Linda Thomas, is not with us today, and we just want to offer our condolences to Linda on the loss of her brother over the past couple of weeks. And fortunately, Linda is able to be with her family down in Georgia, and we wish her well. It was very fitting in the obituary that the family wrote. They provided that an opportunity was there to plant a tree in her brother John's honor. And it was so fitting that Linda and her family would do that. So we extend our condolences to Linda. We also, before we start today, the Park Board of Commissioners and the Park Board staff want to publicly offer our condolences to the Caldemeyer family on the passing of Kathy Caldemeyer. Kathy was a founding member of the Cincinnati Women's Committee for the Smale Park.
Sorry about that, guys. I thought I turned it off.
And was a board member and past president of the Cincinnati Parks Foundation and just a tireless volunteer for parks. And we are so thankful. Kathy was the daughter of John and Phyllis Smale, and she was tireless in her work to help develop and promote the legacy that her mother and father brought to this city with all of the work she did for Smale Park. And I remember when I first came on the park board, Kathy reached out and she was just such an advocate for finishing Smale Park, for promoting and developing Smale Park. And we really appreciate it. And the park board doesn't only thank her for the work she did on Smale, but she was tireless in her advocacy for all of Cincinnati's parks. She loved parks. And she was always there advocating for Cincinnati parks and doing what she could personally to not only raise money, but she was there getting her hands dirty and helping to make sure that Cincinnati parks were beautiful and welcoming to everybody. So we just, once again, will miss Kathy, but we also commit that the work that she started will not end, that we will carry on her vision and her passion for Cincinnati parks. So with that, we will move to our public comments. I know the card says 3 minutes, but we are limiting to 2 minutes, all of our speakers. It really is a misprint. It's always been 2 minutes. And Tia, if you could help us keep track, we want to make sure we've got quite a few speakers. Most of it is on the same topic. So if you would, please adhere. We'll try and keep you to the 2 minutes for your comments. So first we have Rachel Wells, who is here to talk about the Clifton Dog Park. So Rachel, welcome. We've received several communications from you prior, so we welcome you in person. And you have the privilege of two minutes in front of the board. So thank you.
Collection of documents for you.
Thank you very much.
I'll pass those out. Yes, I'm opposed to the dog park in Burnett Woods. I'm here to ask you for more community engagement. In the packet, you'll find several documents, all that point to the controversial nature of this project, especially this site. Each page represents opposition or unanswered questions. But right now I want to talk to you about 2 key pieces in there. The first is the first 9 pages. Those are paper petitions that have signatures that were gathered while we were in the park. It came of a few people spending time in Burnett Woods over a couple of weekends in early November. As people approached us, our first question to them was whether they'd heard about the dog park there. Strikingly, many were only just hearing about it. That's a problem for parks because when someone is surprised or learning about this from someone other than parks, or learning the decision was made before they'd had a chance to provide input, It erodes credibility and trust in this organization. People should learn about this from parks, but there have been no signs in the park, no social media posts, no community survey inclusive of multiple sites or even just this one site. We've only just started our petition drive, and the response so far has been encouraging. In addition to this paper petition, an online version with more than 100 signatures in less than a week is gaining steam, and we're going door to door with a petition directed toward Clifton Town Meeting. In the absence of a more robust community engagement process, you'll see me again, and that stack of signatures will continue to grow. The last thing I want to point you to is the last page in that packet where you'll find your own commitment to community engagement on this project. In May, Parks told the news that once drawings, a budget, and scope are developed, the Park Board will review in an open public meeting and determine if the project should move forward for additional public engagement. There's obviously been a lot of turnover at parks, so I'm sure that's been an oversight. But the more than
2 minutes.
2,000 people.
Thank you, Rachel. We do need to keep everybody to 2 minutes, but we appreciate your time and energy. Patrick, I'm going to screw up McCarthy. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. You've got 2 minutes as well.
Mine was just a shorter comment, same on the Networth situation. That's the environmental impact. Has there been any studies done on putting that there? I know they're planning on tearing out the grass, putting in fake grass. There's going to have to be walkways or sidewalks put in. And also it's in an area called Pleasant Valley. So it goes down like this. So the park will be down here. My concern was drainage. Has anything been done in that vein? And that's
perfect. Thank you. And Eric Williamson. Welcome, Eric. You've got 2 minutes as well.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Eric Williamson, and I have been a homeowner and resident of Clifton for the last 36 years. Over that period of time, there have been several occasions that have made the need for a dog park obvious to me. When we first moved back to Clifton, we would take our dogs to Mount Storm Park and inevitably ran into folks with the same idea and at about the same time on a daily basis. It was great for the dogs to run free and great to meet more Clifton neighbors. Then, because of the leash law and subsequent enforcement, it became less desirable, and so the group ended up disbanding. Because where else could we go close by that allowed the dogs to run free and enjoy each other and each other's company? Then a few years ago, our neighbors created the pop-up puppy parties, which provided an opportunity for our community of dogs and their owners to get together at least once a month without the dogs having to be on a leash. Of course, the ultimate goal was to have a dog park that allowed us to meet daily rather than just once a month. Now more than ever, having an opportunity in place for our pets and their owners to meet is so important given the pandemic of the last 2.5 years. Building community through the addition of a dog park is beneficial not only to the dogs, but to all of us. The pop-up puppy parties demonstrated this every time we got together. Not only were the dogs and their owners in attendance, but also other members of the community who would stop by just to see and pet the dogs, further expanding the circle of friends and acquaintances. Our community of dogs and their owners has already proven how important a dog park would be to foster community growth and interaction that would be difficult to do individually. When dogs and their owners get together, there are lots of smiling faces, and that's a great scenario for all of us.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. Thank you for your comments. Cynthia Duval. Cynthia, we thank you for your input on a weekly basis, and we welcome you to our meeting.
You will need the photos on the back of this document as a point of reference to my comments. Good morning. I am writing today as a voice for the Burnett Woods Park Advisory Committee, aka the BPAC. The BPAC would like to request an emergency capital allocation for the replacement of the stone steps in Burnett Woods, which connect the bandstand to the Valley Shelter area below Trailside Nature Center. These steps are a major thoroughfare for the park and connect not only the park-built infrastructure, but 3 of the major park trails. The steps cannot be shut down without shutting down most of the natural trail access in the park. For unknown reasons, assessment of the several sets of stone steps throughout Burnett Woods is not listed on the December 2nd infrastructure report, despite all being in a state of desperate need. Not only are there loose or missing stones, but wear has left uneven steps and in places, a run which is not deep enough for a standard adult foot to fully step down. In one space, there is a loose edge stone stepping down onto a short run, stepping down onto another loose end stone, and condition of the steps has continued to deteriorate over recent years as to move the safety of the stairs from being a part of the neglected maintenance to a state of willful neglect on the part of the park board, with their exclusion from another budget year or priority list. Had the BPAC been asked about 2023 safety priorities from the infrastructure report, the condition of the steps would have been included in the priority list, but the community was not engaged in the priority discussion of Burnett Woods again. We would like to see these steps replaced with the quality of 100-year stone that was used on another trail stairway 2 years ago, and would like to see a railing included as this set of steps is no longer this set of steps is longer and more steep than other stairs in the park. Photos and videos are included with this statement. Additional notation is available upon request. I have videos, I have photos, and I'm willing to provide them to anyone who might need them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Cynthia. And I'm sure Jason will address all the many areas that our staff is on top of. Rama Kasturi. Welcome again, Rama, and you have 2 minutes. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I have here a letter from the Hillside Trust that Eric Russo called me last night and wanted to make sure it would be included in your minutes from today. And he said he's unable to be here, but will be today, but will come to the next meeting. And I just wanted to say that I had hoped never to have to come here and sit in front of this park board because I thought we had settled this matter in 2018 by fashioning personally the community engagement session, sitting right here with your park staff and the City of Cincinnati Planning Department to decide once and for all how decisions should be made by the park board regarding yet another Clifton project or any such project for Burnett Woods, namely the Clifton Cultural Arts Center project. That robust community engagement, which followed a dismal one conducted by Parks and its then director, Wade Walcott, was a reason why this board, 4 members, but with Linda not here today, came to the conclusion, 3 of you sitting right here, came to the conclusion that it was the absolute worst idea for Burnett Woods to place Clifton Cultural Arts Center in there. And we agreed then, the community and the park board, that we would try to make Burnett Woods the best it could be. And we've kept our promise and our commitment to Burnett Woods. BPAC, Preserve Burnett Woods, $250,000 of volunteer effort. What is missing here is a conversation with the exact same sets of people about what's best for Burnett Woods when the community of Clifton asks for a dog park. Yet again, a community project has divided Clifton. What was not good in Dunor and has the exact same set of criteria per Kara Kish's June report with the X's equivalent status for rejecting Burnett Woods or Burnett Woods Park at that location for a dog park and Dunor Park. Yet a survey was conducted at Dunor. 850 people responded.
We appreciate that. We
Please listen to these people.
have everybody at 2 minutes. Ben Pajolo. Ben, I'm sorry again, but Pajolo. I should know that from my Spanish, but I don't. Thank you, Ben.
So I support the dog park in Burnett Woods. I live next door to Rawson Woods Bird Sanctuary. So I recognize that it's important to have parks in which there's nothing developed and it's purely woods, purely nature. But I think Burnett Woods isn't like that. Burnett Woods has a bandstand for music. It's got seating for the music. It's got a trailside museum. It's got sidewalks. It has playgrounds and things like that. And I think if you take the attitude that you can't add anything that's going to use up any green space, then you could say, well, then let's remove the playgrounds, let's remove the roads, let's remove the parking, let's remove the shelters for picnic shelters and things like that. So I think that that argument is extreme, in my view, to say that we shouldn't build it because it would use up some grass. I also think that the location you're picking is about ideal, and ideal probably throughout the city, because you want a dog park that's close to the houses where people have dogs. And this is one of those rare entrances. Like I've heard people talk about Fairview Park, but there's no walkable housing there. I've heard people talk about other locations in Burnett Woods across from Good Sam or across from the university, but that's fraternities, sororities, apartments, not dogs. And so the location is almost perfect, and it has plentiful parking within the park for it, so it doesn't interfere with parking for residents. So I'm a strong supporter, and I think that the location's great. And I think that there's a lot of people who really want a dog park, but are not quite as organized.
Thank you very much, Ben. Appreciate your input. Bonnie Henry. Welcome, Bonnie, and you have 2 minutes as well.
It won't be that long because I just came here to thank you. I am so happy that we are going to have a dog park in Clifton. I was here years ago before the pandemic and talked about why I felt we needed a dog park. And I've been living in Clifton for over half my life. Over 35 years, I have been a resident in Clifton. And even back when I was in my 20s, I felt that we needed a place where dogs could run. And if I had been here 20, 30 years ago, I would have talked about why the dogs need it. But now I want to tell you, I need it. When I go to the pop-up puppy parties, I have a chance to really interact with people of all ages. And that means so much to me. And I have to say that living in Clifton this long, I have a lot invested in my community, and I wouldn't be here if I thought in any way this dog park would be harmful. I love Clifton. I love the people. And since the pop-up puppy parties started, that's been about 5 years, I have met more people and connected with more people than all the years before. Of course, I know everybody on my street. But, you know, if you're in the supermarket, you see somebody that looks interesting, you just don't walk up and say, hi, you look interesting. My name's Bonnie. But when you're at the dog park, you start talking about your dogs, you start talking about how funny they are. It brings people together, and it's a wonderful break from everything that's going on in the world. So anyway, thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you, Bonnie. And our last speaker, also regarding Burnett Woods Dog Park, John Whedon. Whedon, sorry, John.
Thanks, Jim.
You have two minutes.
I too would like to thank Cincinnati Parks for appropriating funds for the Burnett Woods Dog Park. My name is John Whedon, and my family and I have lived in Clifton since 2004. For a number of years, we've taken our Labrador Retriever to the Washington Park Dog Park. We love Washington Park Dog Park. We love Burnett Woods too. In 2017, the golf outing in Clifton, which I chair, wrote a check for $10,000 for the sign at the northern end of Burnett Woods for Burnett Woods benefit. You know, there's a lot of excitement for a dog park to come to Clifton, and we have fundraisers waiting, a party, GoFundMe, private donors. We don't know who to write checks to. And so my question to you is, do you have a 501c3, or who would we write the check to? So anyway, if you could help us with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate all the comments today. It's indicative of the public engagement on this topic that we've been doing. Yes, sir?
I filled out a card.
Okay, I've been through them, but please come on up and tell us who you are and feel free for 2 minutes.
Thank you. So Ed Kluska, I own the New World Bookshop in Clifton for 35 years, a Clifton resident for 50 years. And walked through that park maybe as much as anybody over the years. I've taught meditation for more than 50 years and know the value of peace and tranquility. And often with my people I work with stress reduction, encourage them to engage with nature. So this is from the Chicago Parks Foundation about meditation, age-old practice, guides people. It's usually set in natural settings. Spending time in natural settings has been proven to reduce stress. You know all about this. When you leave these tensions for a while and spend some time connecting to the deep stillness of the natural world, our true inner nature has a chance to recalibrate itself and attune once again to the wellspring from which it evolved. Our body, minds, and spirits are rested and recharged with the fresh vitality of nature. So the people are not against dogs. It's just that particular location. In the 50 years in Clifton, I've walked intentionally about every street in Clifton. And that particular valley there is the most beautiful place in Clifton, in my opinion. So it's almost like putting a bumper sticker on the Mona Lisa. So when I was in Clifton at the bookstore, I was in head of the business development committee. We opposed the Wendy's that went in there in Clifton about 30 years ago. And this idea, it would have changed the whole nature of Clifton Business District. For this dog park there, right there, that beautiful place in Clifton would totally alter the park. So often now I'll go to the library, our wonderful library across the street, walk through the park, and I often intentionally go up that hill and get my exercise. It's a beautiful place in Clifton. Now, if that's not there, you got to walk all the way up there past the 4 streets that converge and almost go up to the other part towards Martin Luther King to get an open space to walk at. So it's really not the intention of the park.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And as I began to say, we continue to get so much public input, and we really appreciate the passion of all citizens. This project goes back to 2014 when people asked us to put a dog park into Burnett Woods and talked about all of the benefits of doing that. 2016, the community also went to City Council and asked for a dog park to be put in Burnett Woods as part of the city's planning in 2016. We've had several over the past several years, public input, and we continue to gather that. And it's evidenced by the input that we're getting every single week from people who are aware that we are planning the dog park. It's been on our website for a number of months. And we just appreciate the continued input from everybody as everything goes. Ultimately, that's what the park board is for, is to make final decisions. So we greatly appreciate all the input that we are getting on both sides of this issue. There's no right, there's no wrong, and we appreciate all the input. And this park board will do its best to make sure that we preserve and we do everything possible to make Burnett Woods and its 90 acres of Burnett Woods accessible and for the benefit of everybody in the city and the region. So thank you very much. I will commit that I know the staff has developed some feedback, some specific feedback that we have been looking at. We've heard all of the points. I don't believe anything today was new that we haven't heard, and we've actually, on a staff basis, started looking at each of the individual issues that have been brought forward, and we will be publishing that. The director's on top of that at this point in time. We will also try and figure out, for those, John, to your question, we'll figure out where to write checks to so that we can be sure that I know you have donors already committed, so I will. We'll work on that as well to make sure we know where those checks should be written. So thank you very much. With that, we have a robust meeting today, agenda today. For those of you who may not know, the Park Board Commissioners receive a full packet well ahead of our meeting for our review. The park director and our park staff keep us informed of things going on in parks. So This meeting is the only opportunity we have as a full commission to openly discuss, debate, and decide on these issues before us. So we have a broad set of decisions that we have to make today. So we will move into that. And the first we will introduce, I saw Derek here earlier, but
Yeah, so.
Director?
Let me give the report. So,
okay.
Quite a bit of activity in the HR department here at Parks. We've got an architect intern who's accepted an offer, Andrew Campbell, will be starting with us beginning of next year. We've got 2 florists, Ricky Sina and Amanda Byers, that have accepted offers and will be starting with us. We've got an HVAC specialist, Paul Speck, has accepted an offer, an electrician, Eric Johnson, accepted an offer. 2 laborers, Ishmael Garrett and Alexandra Cecil. And then we've got several that we're working on. So the senior engineering technician, planning and design we're working on, a truck driver, we're working through the list right now. Human resources analyst, which Derek is make this list even longer. Once we get to that, he's interviewing folks right now. We've got an administrative tech in HR, which is going to begin interviewing in the first of the year. We have a clerk typist 3 that we're requisitioning through HR right now. And we've got an administrative specialist for audio that we're working through HR right now. So huge report, lots of activity there. Then we also have a recent promotion to announce. Sarah is with us here today. She was just promoted. And he didn't write the specific classifications on here, but Sarah's been part of Rocky's team and the CEV, community engagement and volunteers for a while. Derek, do you want to say something? You don't have to. But
I was the clerk typist 3, got promoted to admin tech. And yeah, I'm on Rocky's team. I mainly do social media, website, communications, and I'm just glad to continue.
we get continual praise about our good social media. She even did a video with me to announce the annual report that made me look not terrible. So the hours are great, but thrilled to see folks come into Parks and then get to move up, which is really exciting. So lots of good work there, and Derek's going to stay on top of it, and we will continue to report it on it.
Well, please pass to Derek what he and his team are doing is incredible, trying to get our staff built back, and we really appreciate his work. Sarah, congratulations on your promotion. You do exceptional work. We love what's being done with social media, and with Rocky and his team, you add so much to it. So thank you. As we're talking about personnel too, I want to take an opportunity to remind us and to acknowledge Steve Pasilla. Steve, I'm gonna catch you off guard here, but Steve is still planning his retirement at the end of December. So I would rather recognize Steve and thank you today while you are still here in advance, rather than waiting till after you retire. But Steve, I know all of the incredible work that you did at CRC and the key role that you played at CRC. And we really, as a park board, only caught a glimpse for a few short months of just your expertise and what you bring to the organization. So I want to personally, and on behalf of my colleagues here, thank you for your whole years, your complete work with the city of Cincinnati and with CRC, but especially for coming in and helping Park Board and being a tutor to Mr. Barron as he came in and mentor to him to help in that transition. So I want to thank you and wish you absolutely the best, good health and good travels, and hit them long and straight, and appreciate your time with us. So thank you, Steve. Okay, with that, we'll move to approval of our minutes. I will hope that we've had a chance to read the minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, or modifications to those? Hearing none, do I have a motion for approval? Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Tia, incredible job again this month on the minutes. Now we're moving into information updates, and Joel, we're going to turn the floor over to you. We are more than happy to welcome you each month and give us your update.
Thank you, commissioners. Good morning. Happy holidays to you. A few things just to update you all on the initiatives that we've been working on in planning and design. As you know, been working a lot on the brain, as everyone calls it. And last month, we finally got through the Branstetter Carroll report of 2021. That is informing the 5th tab that you all haven't even seen yet on this. So far, you've seen pretty much the capital improvement plans over these 3 or 4 tables that we're giving you every month. The 5th thing that we're building essentially is an asset management plan, and that backs even farther out and refines this even more, such that we're really getting into the nuts and bolts of every single building, every single roof, every single system inside of those buildings, so that we can accurately, even more accurately, depict when those things are going to have to be done. So all of that, those kind of things will inform the capital improvement plan to another level above what it is right now. We're working on that. Matt DeBona, as you can imagine, is leading those efforts. He's telling me that it's going to be 9 months to a year, and I believe him because I've worked on several of these before, not even quite for this kind of a system, but those PM inventory will take care of these things that we have to watch and keep track of every single month. They won't be individual projects like you're used to seeing now. They'll be more like, for example, the steps in Burnett Woods. That is on that list. And several of those things are things that we know that we just have to keep up. Once we get those to a level of acceptability, then the colors within that sheet will change from green to red to yellow to kind of show the state of emergency or not that those things are, and that'll help us prioritize those. So we look forward to showing you that as it comes together over the next few months here, and get your input on how to make that even more of a useful tool.
Well, ultimately, just to step in, our goal is not only to have that as a discussion piece amongst conversations with the board, but to be able to make that public as well.
Absolutely.
We do want to have transparency. We do want to have as much information out there. So even more comment on things, and they can see how things move from urgent to projecting in that we're working on to completed. And so, it's early days of it. Joel's been here for not a year yet. But we're moving quickly, and we're trying to get that out as quickly as possible so that these conversations can be informed by, and at any point, people can go online and see where's everything at right now. And then, send us new updates and make sure that those things get highlighted and advocate for the projects that they care about. So that's the ultimate goal of more transparency.
That's exactly right. This is a tool for the citizens as well to be able to advocate for their own projects. We oversee over 100 properties every single day. So we need to know, and we rely on the citizens so much to tell us some of those things. So I appreciate those comments, and we look into them as quickly as we can every single time. I want to echo what Jason said about staff and Derek. We thank him so much for his efforts in helping us. We have an architect intern starting at the beginning of the year that we're incredibly excited about. He's a preservation expert. He teaches a class at UC already. So this is a calculated hire to help us as we move into a period where we're doing some heavy building preservation and restoration efforts on some of our most iconic buildings inside the park system. So welcome to Andrew. We can't wait to incorporate him into the team. As Jason mentioned, also, we have several other positions that we're working to fill: the engineer intern, engineering technician 4. Our cooperative education students are working to help Matt DeBona with that asset management plan. So they're working towards that. And we're keeping them busy over their winter break as well. Tia has helped a little bit already on the administrative side in Charmaine's absence while we fill those positions. And I thank her for her efforts there. We're working towards filling some administrative positions as well. I'm going to bring this up, and this may be the first of 2 or 3 times you hear about this topic today, but last month I introduced to you, or maybe a couple months introduced to you, the need for us to update our digital infrastructure and our GIS. What that essentially means is the city of Cincinnati, as you probably know, has all of these assets in the right of way and city-owned properties mapped underground. So they have a very, very good idea of where water main and sanitary sewer and storm and all that is. Essentially, parks has been treated in large part as private property, and it is in many cases as it's dedicated and those things. Typically, those kind of services are not mapped in the same format. So we have 700 paper maps, essentially, that are the best picture of all of the utilities inside of these. Our co-ops have been compiling those essentially for the past 3 months to get a 100% accurate picture of everything we have and everything we don't have as we inventory those assets. So GIS, the city's GIS team, is going out to redo all of those assets under their specifications for the rest of the city in the next few months. And we want to piggyback on top of that RFP such that we, one, are getting their specifications from guys that write that every single day. I don't know. I know Matt does know enough about these to write that, but he doesn't have 2 months to write the specs for this. So that saves him all of that work and allows us to piggyback on that, internal work that has to be done to get that RFP. So The reason I'm bringing this up to you all again is when I talked to you last month, I thought we had in the neighborhood of 200 to 300 drawings that were going to need to be digitized. That number is more like 700. And in talking to the GIS folks, that pushes the price of this project to probably $500,000. Their total RFP is in the neighborhood of many millions of dollars to do this for the whole city. So we understand that it's in keeping, with market value for what these services cost, and it's 100% more efficient than we can do in-house. So I just wanted to reiterate that because I know that's a substantial sum of money that we're asking. I just want you to understand the importance of what that allows us to do. That means we're going to hit less things. It means we can talk more intelligently to the other city departments and other people that want to come onto our land to do things or maintain their facilities. We'll have a much better picture to do those things. It'll also help Andy and the maintenance team figure out, where things are and much quicker identify maintenance issues, Murdoch boxes, things of that nature. All of those things on private property will be included in these. And Matt's working towards that end right now to provide the inventory of assets needed for them to populate those things. So long-winded explanation to tell you it's going to cost more money than I told you it was going to before, but that's why.
But more importantly, this is another example of this. Will then be, Cages has public accessibility, and people will be able to get on there and see how many shelters we have, how many benches, where picnic tables are, all that stuff. And all of this data will be able to inform that. You could see down the road, there being even like a parks app where you could like pull up parks and like really specifically, and would pull from all of this area. Further, we're going to layer on this capability looking at EDF department, which I'm blanking on the specific initials now, too many acronyms too quickly, but we're working with them to then build.
ETS.
Yeah, to build, I was trying to come up with what the ETNS was.
Enterprise Technology Solution.
There you go. Yeah, always picking me up. But we're going to layer a work order system on there that will be tied to all of this information in Cages and all of this GIS information. So we're really making a digital technology and digital build. Again, we'll layer another layer of work order records and all that. Where this can take us into the future. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You'll see in the next portion of the report that we're already using what we have available that's already mapped to help inform some of our maintenance projects now. So that was all I had from the regular monthly update. I'm sure you all have seen, we prepared a holiday special as I promised you last month. Wonderful. Just to give you an update and kind of rounded update of the things that both we're working on right now and some of the things we've accomplished recently. So without further ado, on the first day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me the lighting of the crone tree. So just a great picture. I was standing there. Actually, my wife took that picture, I believe, just watching Mark do what he does, address the crowd in a beautiful place. It motivates me every day to see these people work this hard, and the excellence that they bring helps all of us achieve that too. So just a cool picture of Mark and the crone lighting from last week.
Not that Crone provided the poinsettias, which
Beautiful.
I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't at least try to do Joel's brilliant work some justice, but the lighting of the crone tree.
All right, moving on. On the second day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me 2 master plans.
That was peer pressure there, right?
Peer pressure, that's right. So just an update on a couple of the biggest projects we're working on right now. Inwood Park, as you know, is we have funding for. We're working towards finding the right folks to do a master plan. So I've already been in contact with some of our trusted advisors that we're already working with, Human Nature and several other folks, our architect friends, to dive into what we actually need to ask for when we ask for this project approach. What are people going to provide for us in Inwood Park, and how is it going to be special and different? What criteria are we going to use to ensure that we're getting what we want, and that the master plan process up front, at least that initial conceptual stuff, is giving us the answers that we need to move forward. So working.
We'll have the opportunity to see that master plan.
Absolutely.
Great.
Molly, you'll probably have an opportunity. We're not even under contract to do a master plan. We're looking towards finding the right team. So we're talking to advisors now, and then we're going to put out an RFP. So I'm drafting the RFP to find the designers right now.
But I think you had shown us the preliminary plan that included the location of these basketball courts.
Yes, ma'am. The basketball court will go forward even before all of this is done. So we kind of know that that basketball court's going to go in that spot. We're working with CRC right now to finalize drainage and things like that, but we want to leave that pretty much where it is. We'll show you the final rendering certainly before that goes to construction, expected in the spring. But we're working on the orientation to make sure all that stuff right. We want to leave it kind of on that side of the park, on that side of the playground, just because it leaves us the most room to activate the pavilion and the most flexibility and all the things to do on that side of the park. So as Linda said, I listened to her last month. We talked to Dan Jones, found some designs that they've used recently to do basketball courts. Jenny had some great suggestions about, maybe it's not the best case to have full court. Maybe they're staggered. Some places do them like that. So we're working through those details right now, pushing the basketball courts even before the master plan.
And the Mount Auburn Community Council meets on January 17th, and I'm on the agenda to get feedback from them and present the concept we have for them.
Yeah, I think it's really important to get those courts installed, but does it make any sense to engage human nature? Where I'm going with this is just creating a really cohesive landscape for Inwood Park so that it doesn't feel like, well, we put the playground here
Absolutely.
years ago, and then we put the basketball courts, and then human nature did the rest, and it starts to not feel like a cohesive
Yes, ma'am.
place.
I totally understand. All of those kind of things from that big perspective have kind of been decided to where you're going to make the visible recreational area where that basketball court is proposed and leave the more formal areas potentially for the Inwood Pavilion. So all of those kind of things have been thought through a little bit already. Totally from the basketball standpoint, we know that that's probably the only viable area to do it that doesn't impact the master plan, with the pavilion and things. So. The second one you've heard about many, many times is California Woods. I actually have an update even beyond this board meeting. Two pieces on this one as well. As you know, last year they spent quite a bit of money moving the road from the Kellogg access entrance such that this 90-degree curve that you're looking there on the screen doesn't continue to erode that roadway away. That's an 18-foot shelf you're essentially seeing there from the 2 foot below the water level where the ground is up to the top of the roadway level. And it's almost vertical. To fix that per U.S. Army Corps guidelines, I would say, requires you to slope that way back out into the creek. And we don't want to do that right now because that enacts an individual permit, which is a 6-month process at minimum. We're going to temporarily armor that piece so that we're not losing that roadway. As you guys can see on both this page and the next, I kind of give you the preliminary design. The beautiful part about this is that those rocks that are going to be used to inform and be incorporated into the $2 million design that we're doing for the rest of the sustainable project. We're working to master plan that as well, but I have a quote for the work that you're looking at in front of you since I wrote this report, and it's about $178,000 to implement this. And you're looking at only about a 60-foot area, 18 feet tall, but it's the absolute worst area in this place. So I want to fix that first, very similarly to Smale, how we're trying to just temporarily armor that edge and then come back and do everything right. This is very much in the same vein. We have to fix this so we're protecting our assets. And then over the next year and a half, we'll design something that incorporates not only this, but fixes upstream so it lessens the severity of this problem. So that's where we are in California Woods, working through master planning as well with these, Molly. It's a very specialized team that has to do some stuff because you're talking a hydraulic evaluation plus architectural components, to get the right stone, to make it look like Lick Run and not like some of the worst trails that we have around here. So any questions on those? All right. On. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very well done.
Yeah.
I agree. Both of the folks that were on that project are helping to advise even the early stages of RFPs for some of these things that we're doing. So talking to many, many people, I don't want to exclude anyone, but I want to get the best ideas so we know and are informed on what we should be asking for. So, yep. So on the third day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me 3 sinkholes. We have 3 sinkholes. I'm sure you all know what those are, but essentially just an area where there is a relief point below stormwater that allows infiltration into the ground. As they keep eroding and water keeps going through them, they get bigger and bigger, and they're very hard to see and comprehend really the extent of the problem. So when I hear sinkholes, I perk up and I quit what I'm doing and I go look at sinkholes. So there's 3 of them, and we've addressed and kind of prioritize the severity of these for our contractors who we're limited on as well. So Alms Park is probably the least severe. This is pretty close to the overlook areas, and you can see on the pictures I provide, just a couple places where these are. You can see the overlook sidewalks really right there to the right of the bottom picture. But I've circled really where those sinkholes are. They're no bigger than about a foot in diameter, but that's substantial. The good news about these, Tia, that's go up. I'll show you which one. That one's McGrish. Keep going. McGrish, that one right there. So that right there is Alms, essentially looking over the overlook to the east, I would say, to the southeast. Where Dave Patel's team has those cones, that's a hole, that's about a 12-inch hole. And you can see below there going down the hill, we've identified and cleared already to find where that is. What worries me about sinkholes is when I don't know where they outlet, because then I don't know how big they are. Right there, we can pretty much tell that it's only a superficial issue going down to that slope. And my guys said that that's the easiest one to fix. That one's not an immediate danger to the population. So as you can see, we left as much of the park open as we can. Some of the other ones are not that case. We expect this one to be fixed before spring, but it's the least severe of the 3 sinkholes. Burnett Woods was the newest one on this list. I believe I've only known about this one for 2 weeks. Thank you to everybody that told us about these. I think it was both some PAC members and some of our own staff that told us about that. You're looking right now, I've kind of closed that in, but there's probably about a 2-foot sinkhole right along the trail there. That one we're going to have fixed second. It's an emergency because of the proximity to the trail and the proximity to the MSD line. So there's a whole lot of things going on down in this area, as you guys well know. But we're working together with MSD to try to prioritize when we fix what, so we're not wasting any money, what to take out in those areas. But we're going to fill these holes certainly so that our patrons that are using our trails are as safe as soon as they possibly can be. Thanks to Dave's team and all the folks that work at Burnett Wood for the parks guys to get this sectioned off so quickly. Garrett Dino helped quite a bit with that. So much appreciate the quick action on that to make sure that our folks are safe. The third one of the sinkholes is McGrish Preserve. It's the most severe. You're essentially looking right now at the back. At the back of I'm standing on a curb in the parking lot and I'm looking down on an existing manhole right there, or stormwater inlet. So that is a big hole. There's probably 4 or 5 feet that you can even see from the surface. Again, the concerning thing is if you don't know where the outlet is, we certainly do know where it is. And if you look at the report, I show a cross section. We do things fast sometimes. That's a contractor cross section that I'm showing there. How do we fix it? I don't need anything fancy. I just need to know exactly that it matches the Army Corps prescription. Yeah, can you go to the handwritten one, or did he not even put that one in there?
Yeah, I don't think I made it.
Okay, in any case, we just, sometimes we don't.
You've got it.
Okay, that's what I was referring to. Sometimes we fix things in an hour. There's no need for AutoCAD drawings. We go through, we fix the problem, we check it against the prescription and we move on. So that one is already under contract. Bruce is going to fix that for us. They should be mobilizing next week to get that one done.
So are residents using the city complaint system? Is
CFS system?
that what it's called?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
Can you find out about these things, or is this our own staff, or what, how do we?
All of the above, Molly. I would say this one here is from our own staff, Dave, Nick, Kevin Temple, those guys, everyone, Matt Hood, all of the guys that are in the field, and those folks keep us informed every single day on the biggest problems. And that's exactly what I want and why I want the communication at the DCO level with my office. So.
Be engaged with the CFS system. I asked because
Yes.
I've used this before myself. The gas lights out, whatever.
Mhm.
And then the city is really good at responding to it and then keeping me informed through that system that it's closed or depleted or processed or
I
whatever.
would speak that as the CSR system.
Okay.
That's what I meant. Thank you,
You
Rocky.
can make a complaint through the app. We do have the bucket that comes to park, comes through to my team, and Antoine, who's out here, helps us keep track of those. He works with the team to, if he needs to go to West District to get an answer, et cetera, make sure that they're followed up on. So that is one of the many ways people.
It's a great system. I think. Effective.
Yeah, we do absolutely find problems through that.
Safety issues.
Absolutely.
It's the most important.
Yes, absolutely right. I believe that was it on sinkholes. So on the 4th day of Christmas, Cincinnati Park gave to me 4 calling birds, which is Planning and design, calling contractors. Best I could do on that one. So this one's just an update. I've talked to you all about the TPA, the third party agreement a couple times, which is through Megan. The city shares that across all of our departments. And every year there's a $12 million allotment, of which they allow 9 million to be held outside of reserve. They hold 3 in case things go wrong. They split that across all of the departments. And then we advocate for some of these projects to try to do some of the smaller repairs things without the full blown city purchasing process. So we're trying that out right now. I usually wouldn't prepare these myself, except I'm learning for the process myself in these and to help inform our maintenance folks. So we have enacted 4 of these as of the past week and 4 new projects, just to give you an idea of some of the things we're doing. So the first one that I show is the Fulton Comfort Station. They're out of commission right now because the sanitary sewer is broken. I quickly used these maps. That you're looking at. The map that you see there is essentially from our GIS map, the Parks GIS map. As you can see, the dark blue lines are already mapped because this is in part city right of way, and they already have those utilities mapped under GCWW MSD. So that allows me to quickly understand where everything is under the ground and then identify the problem area and show the contractor what I'm telling them to quote very, very quickly without doing any topo, without doing any additional work. That would have took a staff 10 years ago when I was doing this 2 days to do. We did it in an hour now. So those are the kind of efficiencies that this GIS and infrastructure allows us to build. So that one's Fulton. I think we can do it fairly non-destructively, I hope. Directional drill under both of the pavements so we don't have to go in and tear anything up, pay a lot more money. I will let you know what the quote is on that. We're walking those jobs tomorrow. The next one is the Inwood Pond. Our maintenance guys identified that the pond is not draining properly. Andy's had some issues with that. We've investigated the point that we know that that pipe is crushed within that revision cloud that I showed there. Again, tomorrow we're walking that with our contractors to find out how much that's going to cost us. A little bit different approach in this one. Sometimes you directional drill, sometimes it's much, much cheaper and more advantageous to trench. This one will probably trench in just because there's so many things. We may even hydro excavate this, which means use a power washer essentially and power wash some of the utilities so we don't cut them with a backhoe. So that may be an issue because you see all of the utilities that are right in there to fix that pipe. So sometimes we use different tools to do the same thing. The third one is easier projects, but very similar. The water nursery has some areas where if we spend a little bit of money to improve the pavement, we can activate that site and make it much more useful. As you can see there, there's 2 areas where I have a pavement on the outside of the fenced in area. That's going to be for dumpsters. It's in awful shape right now to the point where the asphalt pavement is rubbleized, fixing it to the nearest joint, putting a concrete pad on there so that the water team can utilize that for easy refuse and trash removal. The other part that you see there at the top of the screen in that picture is a void space in the parking lot, basically where water runs between the edge of the foundation of the garage and on the parking lot. It's void underneath there. We're going to fill all that in with rock, ensure that we've stopped any of the issues that are causing that infiltration of water right there and repave that so that it doesn't do that again. And that'll allow us to pull in and out of the garage there, which is not safe to do so now. So those are the 3 kind of smaller jobs that we throw through this third-party agreement in anticipation of the 5th day of Christmas, which the Cincinnati Parks gave to me. 5 fixed up things. It's really not 5 fixed up things. It's just number 5. It's so important of a project that I gave it its own number. So this is an update on the Parks DNR headquarters at Ludlow. We have construction drawings now, and Chris McGee has already put this together with Megan to walk this with the contractors. So we're waiting bids right now for the inside of Ludlow. I wanted to specifically thank Jason for his efforts and talking to the folks at the federal level to help us secure more time so that we're not having to do any of these conditions here. I believe he got us an extension until December 31st of 2023. So that's an 8-month extension, which essentially negates a whole lot of money that we were going to waste in temporary conditions and things. So that's a huge win for us.
Absolutely.
We're moving forward with as fast as we can still to get people in because it's a big deal. But we anticipate that this building will be under construction in the beginning of the summer for the interior package, towards the fall for the exterior package, which is under design right now and screaming towards construction drawing set as we speak. And then move on to Deal Road, kind of at the end of the interior from this. So that's just the floor plan of what the new interior is going to look like. We are really, really close to putting this into action. One bad note on this is they stole the copper gutters off the outside of the building, like literally in the past month. We got a call. So
Kidding me.
yes, ma'am. We've instructed Andy and his team to take the rest of them down, just so we save those and salvage those. But the really crappy part about that basically is that they messed up the edge of the roof too. So some of those shakes and some of that may enact us now to have to put in a roof just because it's mangled on the end. I haven't inspected it to the point where I know what has to be fixed. But given the problems with that, if that causes a leak area, it may enact us to put a roof on this. A steel standing seam roof is what we would probably recommend from what Chris is telling me. But it may be an opportunity for further, photohelic addition on the roof anyway. But I just wanted you all to be aware that, vandalism may have cost us a little bit of money on this project.
A former police district headquarters.
Yeah.
They've had their eye on it for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there is a little known trail that goes up to Mount Storm from this building, which will be a nice place to have lunch. for
Absolutely.
work here eventually.
For sure. Awesome. On the 6th day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me 6 architects architecting. Okay. So just the most architecty of the projects we have at the moment to me is Owl's Nest Pavilion. We had a great meeting on December 6th. Jason and Lynn Zuck from KZF ran that flawlessly. We had some great, in my opinion, feedback from the community and lots of great ideas to move forward with. It's pretty much evident that they want to stabilize the building, but we talked in terms of money, to get what you see in those renderings right there. You're talking between $1 million and $3 million, depending on how much of the interior basement floor that you activate there. So very initial stages of that and gathering community engagement. I know Rocky's team did a great job. They had a QR code we could scan and just add additional feedback even beyond the meeting. So I was very encouraged by that meeting and feel like this is going to turn into a successful project over the next couple of years.
I believe we have 70 responses to this.
We're actually up to just under 100.
So
Great.
really positive.
Nowhere near Burnett Woods, Zachary.
All right, on the 7th day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me 7 engineers engineering. You gotta have architects, you gotta have engineers too. Mrs. Castellini, last month you asked for a picture of what we were planning to do at the Smale River's Edge. And the pictures that I show up here are kind of just a 15% design of what that is. If you look, Tia, do you have those?
Here we go.
So these.
It's okay.
There we go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We can talk about it anyway.
Yeah.
We've got it in front of
The
us.
packet on page 18 essentially shows that the first dark gray line is about where that edge is right now. Essentially where the 6-foot shelf of soil is. So the bottom picture is just a section view of the same exact thing through there that shows those big boulders down on the very right part of that screen. Those are the big ones that we would get first. Those are typically 3 foot by 3 foot by 8 or 3 foot by 3 foot by 6, and they're really, really heavy. So when the big waters of the Ohio go up and down, those are not able to be moved away by the current. That's why we're enacting those first. It's a temporary armoring condition for what it is, but it gets that material on site for us too, which is also a big logistical problem over the main project. I know Jason can speak much more to where the Army Corps portion of this project is going, but that's where we are right now with the temporary armory.
What we can see on this thing that you put up, exactly how this, currently we've got the path, right? So the path ends, and that's where you have the rock and the erosion. And this new part of the park, you can see how it's going to create all of these new accessible areas to allow the public to engage with the river. And even unlike the western side, which is just kind of a wall and then a ramp, it's short up, but it's very simple. This would be much more interactive and just a really great space for everybody that uses Smale Riverfront Park to engage with the Ohio River and get to experience it in a way much more similar to Serpentine Wall, which is, one of the great spaces in Cincinnati.
Remind me what your thinking is on funding for this, the bigger project.
So, well, we have a report coming up where we approve the agreement with the Army Corps, but what we're going to do is over the next year, we'll work with the Army Corps on what they call the feasibility study, which will lead to a decision document. That decision document is used to justify the federal funding authority. Congress has already passed $30 million of federal funding authority, which is a 50-50 match between the federal government and Cincinnati. We signed an MOU in 2019 that allows us to count all of the infrastructure and the flood mitigation that is inherent in the parking garage and in lot 23 and lot 27, which is where the music venue are, can count as our match. And Craig got documentation for $30 million of spending for that. So much more than 15 million. So our hope is that finished condition that you see there, finished condition, I'm learning all these new words from Joel. That finished project, as I would have said 3 months ago before we were buddies, will hopefully be largely paid for entirely by federal money, based upon that match from lot 23 and lot 28.
And there's no sunset on the 2019 MOU.
There's not. But the feasibility study will be the time where we start to come about accounting, and then we'll develop what's called a PPA. So today we're going to pass the FCSA, or the Federal Cost Share Agreement, and then we'll develop the PPA, which I believe is the Public Partner Agreement, and that will be for the project. And that will be the project part of it, which is where we'll actually then kind of develop what this is.
Great.
But there will be tons of feedback and many opportunities. This is the 15%. There'll be many opportunities to kind of finally design that and get feedback from the board and from the community.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that one? I know it's a big one. All right, on the 8th day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me 8 parts of a new facility. That's all I got on that. All right, so this one's talking more about DNR, our DNR's team's new homes and what we're doing to help facilitate that. Deal Road, as you know, will be the home of our of the green space team. We're working through schematic design with that. You're looking at the picture essentially that KZF and Parks have gotten up to a conceptual view. I want to reiterate again, thank you to Jason. Everything you see on the left side of that screen in pink and purple was temporary conditions to essentially house the green space team out there while Deal Road was while Ludlow was being completed. Now that we have the time, we can piggyback off of Ludlow, house everybody there until this is done, and not have to spend any of that money on these trailers or some of those temporary conditions, material storage that we were going to have to do. So once again, that's an amazing cost savings. I would rather put it into the permanent condition than waste any money whatsoever. So thanks again for all the efforts on that. All right, on the 9th day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me 9 passive walking. This is just an update on Alt Park Foundation project we're doing together with the Parks Foundation. The Carter's Grove Trail was poured over the past month. We're working through some of the site restoration right now, but it's probably 95% complete thanks to Adlita. As you all know, we had a lot of rain yesterday and they just got it poured. So they made sure that was protected from erosion by mulching even before they had the seed mix and stuff. I greatly appreciate that. That's what we're trying to strive to do here, is protect the environment as we do these projects. So it's turning out great. So far, everybody seems to be very pleased. Dave Boutel and his team are going to put in some landscaping around that and some more trees yet this fall, I believe, or yet this winter, before final landscaping in the spring. All right, on the 10th day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me 10 Lords of Leaping on a brand new play surface at the Flashman Gardens. So I just took a couple pictures of this, a small project that we got completed over the past month. Brand new play surfacing for Flashman Gardens. Turned out great, we think. So. All right, on the 11th day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me 11 Pipers Piping. This one's just all about pipes. A lot about the Alms Park sanitary sewer from the Comfort Station. These essentially are a screenshot of those plans that show what they're going to do to go back in and restore service to those. That will restore service to both the caretaker's house and the Comfort Station so that the Alms Comfort Station can be opened back up. As a part of this work, the interior plumbing of the Comfort Station will be completely redone as well. Much of it is old and corroded, so we're bringing this building up to snuff. Probably reworking. Right now, I believe that the upper and lower are designated by gender. We're probably going to make both of those bathrooms unisex, certainly, so that everybody can enjoy either one of those from an ADA accessibility. I don't believe that the bottom one is accessible. In fact, I know it's not. So we're going to make that upper bathroom accessible for everyone, such that, just added amenity for people in wheelchairs or disabled. The bottom note on the pipes one is just that in conjunction with this, the Alms, Alt, and French water main project is nearing completion and design as well. I'm reviewing that right now And we expect that to be completed before the spring as well. So most of that work is going to be done via directional drill, which means we're not going to trench all the way through. We're going to go underneath of everything. So it's more surgery than it is, you've seen them. I'm sure many of the fiber companies do it now to where they'll go into a really nice neighborhood and they only make very small pit holes to push the pipe horizontally under the ground instead of having to dig it in. So we're trying to be as conscious of our natural resources and our trees and our tree protection as we can while we do these projects. So we're working together with them. We expect that to be fixed and restore functionality or ensure functionality to those three places. Those water mains are just really old, as you know, and are requiring a lot of fixes now that they're breaking. All right, on the 12th day of Christmas, Cincinnati Parks gave to me 12 planners planning. This one's planning a park rebuild. So international friendship is picking up steam on the design side. I've met with Human Nature twice this month to identify, as you know, much of that concrete was very specialized and many of the pavers are different and from, specialty sourcing. So we've been working through a feasibility plan with Human Nature to ensure we know what we need to put it back correctly. As these two photos that I show in this board packet are essentially their assumptions. Met with Greater Cincinnati Waterworks earlier this week, essentially just to walk through kind of getting a consensus on here is how we're approaching this project. Here are the things that we're assuming. For example, as you see there in that picture that Tia has up, the red sidewalk is things that we know we need to fix because it's broken. There are questions about other things, like as you approach those nodes, probably those two orange pieces are not broken. They're just, maybe scarred or they're dirty or something like that. This is an architectural thing to say. We think we should take them back to these nodes because you see the differences in materials differently, and just ensuring before our folks go to final cost estimate these things that we have consensus from Waterworks on these are the things we're changing. One other very important facet is this that I've learned personally over the past 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. The code study that I've been telling you about, I didn't really understand that we're also changing some of the details, some of the planters and things like that. In the past 25 years, they figured out better ways to do things and better ways to waterproof things. So as a part of this, we're also telling them that if there is a better way to do it, since this park was built, we're going to enact the better way to protect our assets farther. So those kind of things we had to get consensus on with Waterworks, as they're obviously paying for the rebuild of this, just to ensure that everyone's on the same page as we move forward with design and costing. We expect cost estimates and a schedule in January for this project. So probably by the next meeting, I'll be able to inform you all better on when it's going to go. But the hope is that we can do this under a design build such that we can just keep moving and move fast versus stepping back and doing a traditional design. Because as you see, with today's tools, we're using the old plans essentially and marking up what we need to change. We're meeting with our florist next internally to ensure that our folks are on the same page with what's being designed in the field and they can maintain that properly. So that stuff will happen in January as well. We'll give you another update in January. All right, the last thing I had, so on the last day of Christmas, the park board gave to me a great day to move a big tree. So, as all of you know, I'm sure the London plane tree at Lytle move was successful. I think it was November 19th on a Saturday, we moved it. It's very, very cold, but as you can see, that's right in the middle of the move. I know many people at this point have seen that, but what you're looking at essentially is 4 airbags under that tree that roll. They're Gore-Tex lined, and essentially they can push them with a backhoe or push them with an excavator or a bobcat. Everything sits on that. They keep the tree level by inflating or deflating some of those bags to keep the tree perpendicular to the ground. So it was amazing to me to see them do that. Really, really cool exercise. Bruce's guys are doing an amazing job ensuring that that's getting watered in the prescriptive treatment that we prescribe within the plans. Lytle's going pretty well so far. They anticipate that the Lincoln statue will be moved before Christmas. That's what's in the works right now. One more note on this project is just initially we had the whole thing completely closed. If you look at the bottom picture, and during the tree day, several of the residents on 4th Street came up and said, hey, is there any way we can use part of this until you guys tear it up? Which goes against everything I think as an engineer. But we talked to Bruce, we worked through that and realized that some of the underground utilities on that north side won't be going until the coldest part of this year is over. So it's already fenced in, but essentially that orange area that you see right there, we've allowed to be opened to the public. It also allows Western and Southern to walk from the hotels back and forth there, folks, to have an ease of access through the park that we wouldn't have to close down until the utilities need to be done. As soon as that happens, we will close it down, but for now, we're trying to be as good a neighbors as we can during construction and keep as much access as we can open. So the site's still fully secured. The statue will happen, and then we're gonna move into underground utility work early next year.
I just want to point out, flexibility that Joe showed to be responsive to the community for the project and to allow for community needs and kind of, not just be prescriptive and but I think it's just huge. And it's the kind of thing that we would always be doing in parks, which is to kind of meet folks where they're at and kind of try to always be good neighbors, even as we're doing big things. This is the 15-second time-lapse video of the moving of the tree. So pay attention because it goes fast. It's like 48 hours, but we'll run it through a couple times.
That looks easy.
Great.
Make it look so easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Just moved it, just.
So
Yeah.
What do you think, Brad?
I think we should do that every year.
Pick a tree and let's, spend a couple $100,000 and we'll move them.
Expertise.
Yeah.
Do you all have any questions for me? Thank you, ma'am. All right, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very, very much.
That was next level.
Absolutely.
And everything.
Awesome.
Already working on next year's.
Okay, we're going to move into some action items, and there's quite a few here. And I would just say to the presenters that we have all of these. We've all reviewed these. So I'll turn them over to you to present and let us know what you need from us.
Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
The first one is applying and accepting grants from the Parks Foundation. The first grant is for the Nature's Connection. This is a program ran by Explore Nature program. It is to connect children from Cincinnati schools with the program to educate them about nature, and for the busing services for the spring. That's when the program is ran. The busing services have increased in cost from $8,000 to $10,000 this year, and this grant is to support those services. The next one is in November. There was a collaborative effort between Groundwork, Ohio River Valley, and the Urban Forestry Department, as well as Matria was involved in the Lower Price Hill Climate Safe Neighborhood Plan. This is to increase the urban canopy in Lower Price Hill. The staff identified 76 locations suitable for those tree plantings. 15 were along the sidewalk. And the $6,000 is to reimburse the Cincinnati Park Board for those sidewalk cutouts. The total amount we are requesting for applying and accepting is $16,000.
Perfect. Questions for Craig?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. And once again, thank you to the Parks Foundation for their ongoing support of key projects like this. Lisa Fernbank Park. Good morning, Jenny.
Morning. So this is obviously a new lease for Fernbank Park. Fernbank Park in Sailor Park has been managed by the Great Parks of Hamilton County since 2003. And they have been great partners of ours and have agreed to take on the maintenance, improvement, and operation of this park at no cost to the city. They have also agreed that there will be no charge for any vehicles entering their park, which is different than most of their other parks that they operate and manage. This current lease is set to expire at the end of the year, December 31st of 2022. So that's why we are bringing this forward to you now. And the new lease will be good until December 31st of 2027 with an option to renew for an additional 5 years if both parties agree. This has been reviewed by the Hamilton County Administration and Law Department, as well as the city administration and law department. Everything is the same except for one area that has been highlighted in your packet. And that area covers access by utility companies. There were some instances that they would, want it to negotiate a little bit better. Basically, what it is saying is that they would like the city to provide notification prior to anyone entering onto that property so that the area can be reviewed for any vegetation or tree removal or pruning if necessary. So they would like prior notice. And if we cannot give prior notice because it's an emergency, then we are to give them notice as soon as that emergency happens as we can. With that, then we would, both parties would go and examine the area for any vegetation loss. And they are asking for compensation for any of their legacy vegetation or tree removal that may have been planted or installed in the area for the utility company if they need to do any restoration or replacement. So we both have looked at that and agreed to that since, donors are putting their funding up to place these items in the areas. It only makes sense that they are compensated back for those pieces. So staff recommends that the board approves this lease, and then upon approval, we will execute the agreement for all proper signatures.
Perfect.
And I should point out that piece with the utility company, we used to do an individual contracts. We just did one for Fernbank specifically for a water main, or was it a sewer?
MSD.
So a sewer main project where we went out and did all that. They agreed to all of the restoration. And so this is not just something formalizing that, so we don't have to have individual agreements.
Perfect.
I also would point out that, of course, my phone went dead as I'm talking. Not dead, but Commissioner Castellini asked me to find out how much Great Park spends in Otto Armleader and Fernbank every year. And so this morning I emailed all 5 of the commissioners a table that they have that charts all the way back to 2003 and it goes up to 2020. So they haven't updated 21 yet, but I'm sure we can get that. But in 2020, they spent $187,000 in Armleader Park, and they spent $235,000 in Fernbank Park. So that's a total of $423,000 that Great Parks Hamilton County is spending to take care of these 2 parks for us. So a really great partnership. And some of our Great Parks levy dollars go to work for Cincinnati citizens, all park users. So great question.
It was. Any questions on the lease itself? I would just echo that I think this is a great collaboration and the cooperation and the relationship Jason brings as well with Great Parks is very beneficial. So if there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion on the recommendation. Thank you, Commissioner. Second. Motion and second to accept and approve the lease as recommended by the staff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for your work on that.
Thank you.
And next we have Sawyer Point. And Jenny, while you're there, tell us what you're doing here.
Sure. So the Sawyer Point and public landing parking is a vital component to the waterfront operation and its revenue to help beautify and operate and maintain that whole stretch of Yateman's Cove and Sawyer Point itself. So we certainly have a parking operation with automated arms and systems down at Sawyer Point and at Public Landing. And that was installed in 2013. So it is certainly overdue for an update on that. And so on June 17th of 22, there was a notice of intent that was issued to a vendor called Parking Box to install a new parking hardware and software for Sawyer Point and Public Landing itself. And so the terms of this agreement are under review from the law department and ETS. I have to get approval from there, but I wanted to bring this forward this month. So when those approvals do come online, we are ready to fully execute that agreement, and Craig can go get an ordinance for the money to be transferred over. The terms of agreement were included in this packet. And what that will entail is a 5-year software license, as well as 3 entry and exit boxes to be located at Sawyer Point and Public Landing, 2 at Sawyer Point, 1 at Public Landing itself. The funds for this will come out of our waterfront funds. So the total cost was $184,157. And so out of the 318 fund, which is at Sawyer Point, that will absorb the $122,772 and $329 fund for Smale for the public landing will absorb the $61,385 dollars for this purchase. So staff are respectfully requesting that the board allow the staff to enter into this agreement and approve the expenditures, as I just stated before, for the purchasing and installation of the parking box hardware software system.
Thank you, Jenny. Any questions or comments? This is a key amenity for that park. So thank you for your work on it. No questions. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve staff request for funding. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Forestry, urban forestry assessment. Good morning, Crystal.
Morning, good morning. It's been a while.
It has.
I feel like we just did this.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Minor issue, right?
So as you know, there's lots of steps in the urban forestry assessment process, and this is one of the second of many. Last week, the Urban Forestry Advisory Board received our report for our anticipated budget for the new year, approved it unanimously. So our next step is to bring it to you. So essentially, we are requesting approval to request or recommend to City Council that we continue to maintain the urban forestry assessment at 31 cents per front foot. This year, given the unanimous vote of the park board and the council through all the proceedings last year, as you know, we did a study in 2021 this past year and had to increase the assessment, and with that presented several options. The best option that we put forward was to increase the assessment to 31 cents, which in that we would also add an in-house tree crew to minimize our contractual reliance on contractors overall. So this assessment is for 2024. It will fund fiscal year 25. And with that, we will be building out the in-house tree crew over the next year.
Perfect. Questions for Crystal?
How many folks on the tree crew do you think you'll need?
We're going to do at least one tree crew leader, three tree maintenance workers, and we'll have 2 florists. And with that, we're currently working on transitioning those positions from their current classifications into the arborist series so that we have an arborist 1, 2, and 3 operating throughout the city. So they'll manage anything less than 20 inches in diameter for pruning and removal, and do all the stump grinding for anything less than 30 inches.
So again, you're asking for no increase, that this is just to recommend the same level of funding in the tree assessment. Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
I have one more question.
Yeah, sure.
The capital equipment, 450,000, does that include acquisition of new fleet?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. That's a lift truck, a chipper, a dump truck, and a replacement of one of our pickup trucks.
Excellent. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and second to recommend maintaining the urban forestry tree assessment at its current level. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed. Thank you, Crystal. I know this is never an easy process, but the work that you guys did last year was extremely well done. So thank you. And Jason, we'll move to you and turn it over to you.
So biochar, this is a very exciting and innovative project that.
Crystal want to be up there too.
We answer any of this. We'll see how translate. This is an innovative and exciting project. We're one of 3 cities in the country that won a $400,000 grant from Bloomberg challenge. And initially, the park board put $100,000 in as seed money, and then we got that $400,000 gap. Our budget so far says that this is about a $1.1 million project to get off the ground. So that left a $600,000 gap when you hired me. And my understanding from the June meeting was, and then as asked to find come in and help out. Great Parks once again has stepped up to the plate and is willing to split that gap with us. So they're going to approve today at their meeting $300,000 for the biochar project. We're requesting that the park board match that with $300,000 commissioners fund, which would then make the project capital, the startup piece $1.1 million full. It says in the report, we did an RFP for the operator, Carbon Harvest, a local individual who started a company, has won that to be our operator. Crystal and him have been meeting to get that contract settled. The contract was signed in November. Over the year, Carbon Harvest and Cincinnati Parks team are going to proceed on approximately 4 paths. The first path is selecting the equipment they will use for the process, the pyrolysis, which is the actual process of making biochar. So that's path 1, is selecting that equipment. And Crystal actually went to Europe in December. She scheduled my first week here, so that she went about the first week, but she actually saw some equipment there. Her and Joel were just out in Iowa recently to see some equipment there, and we're looking for another spot in Ohio or close by that we can go check out another spot. So we're trying to do a lot of due diligence. So they'll select that will inform the site development. Joel showed you Deal Road. If you would have gone a little bit to the right, you would have seen where biochar would have been on Deal Road. So once we have the equipment selected, Joel and his team, Chris McKee, will produce kind of the site plan for that. The third path is the operations plan. How does this work? How many people do we need? What is it going to cost to operate? And then the last piece is the business and marketing plan. How are we going to actually market this to the communities to bring in revenue to help cover the cost of that? So we'll be updating you all along the path as we hit those milestones to make sure that, this is a journey that we all take together and we're all kind of at every point of it. But super exciting. This is a super new technology, and it is really exciting to be part of this kind of innovative learning process that really the whole world is doing on some level. And so we're going to proceed down the path and try to make Cincinnati one of the leaders in this.
Question on the equipment. How long, since you said it's relatively new, I'm just curious, how long have some of these vendors been in business, and what kind of track record they have?
There are 2 companies that we've identified in the states. The first is the Arty facility, which was what I presented on in May. They've been around for about 10 years, and through that process, we found that they may not be the most reliable machine, as there are currently no machines still in the United States. The other company identified BET. They have a pyrolysis unit that they are just bringing online, as in started around 2019, but they've been in this business of gasification over the past 30 years. They're actually more of kind of a farm focused entity versus Arty, which are like PhD engineers. And so we're working.
I'd go with a farm. The PhD.
We're really lucky. The other cities, Minneapolis and Lincoln, Nebraska, are heavily invested in this, both the feasibility studies. So we're kind of all doing a deep dive and coming together to develop what that final scope will be for the procurement, and really doing touch base with anyone who's actually using this or what may contribute to downtime.
Thank you.
I talked with her about is we are approving here to spend money before we see the full final baked business plan. And what Jason has said is along the way here, until we pull the trigger on buying the equipment, that is the key as far as our expenditure of this much money. So before they actually spend and purchase the equipment, Jason will get us up to speed on what they have found, the investigations that they have done, so that we are doing a little bit more than going on a wing and a prayer that it'll work.
So in essence, what you're saying is if you approve the 300,000, we're having it set aside.
Yeah.
But it's not being spent.
And we are committing, barring anything that pops up, that staff also working with Great Parks and our consultant, barring anything that would step up during that process that says, hey, either that requires more money or, the likelihood of being able to generate the income we think we will. This commits us unless the director comes back and says, time out.
Exactly. And I mean, again, this is experimental, right? This is new technology. You know, one company's 10 years old, another company is a couple of years old. And so it's exciting, but it's also something that, that's why I talked about that journey where we'll be checking in, you know, with the board and throughout this process and learn from it. And as we kind of grow and develop it, but it's really exciting and, you know, we're excited.
Thank you for the guardrails.
Yeah, we're not just going to jump off the cliff, but we're going to work our way down the path expeditiously.
So Chris, is this technology been in Europe for some time, and do they have a longer track record? I'm just curious if some of the design philosophies in Europe that have been strong and robust and well built are mimicked by US companies.
So as Director Barron pointed out, it's a relatively new technology in general.
Across the world.
Across the world, 2 years max. And so this project modeled after Stockholm, the unit that I saw there was not adequately designed to manage the wood waste that was crowded through it because it had originally been designed for like solid or like sewage. And so that machine in and of itself was down like 60% of the time. And so they weren't even able to fully realize the benefits of that technology within that city. And so along the way, all of these different companies or all these different cities that have used this technology, there's been lessons learned. And we're lucky to come in at the 10 years after these things have been implemented to work through and identify where those pinch points might be so we have the most efficient product at the end of the day.
Good. Yeah,
John. One thing to add, just uniformity of material going into these machines means everything, right? Moisture content, just like when they harvest corn, it has to be 19.5% moisture content. Otherwise it burns in the barn or all those kind of things. Very similarly here, the pre-treatment before you arrest the carbon inside of this wood, the material has to be the same temperature, same moisture content. So those pre-treatment trains are what real crux of the engineering is. And that's what we're trying to figure out right now. How can we segregate our waste such that we're setting it up for success, that we know exactly what that material is going to this machine, or can we make the machine variable so that if our sources are variable, it can run any of those? That's what I'm asking and working on this side of that stuff right now. Pre-treatment in this stuff is very important.
That's the benefit of the PRD, the BET system versus the RD system is it has greater variability in that moisture content and in the size of the wood chip that's being processed through it.
Great. So will all the material be chipped before it goes into, so it'll be processed in some form and, you know, as far as size and then get the right moisture before it goes into the cooker.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll have to be pre-processed before it can go through the machine to get the wood chips down to a uniform size of between 1 to 2 inches in any angle.
Gotcha.
And that has typically been the failing point for a lot of the machines is that if you have variability in the size of the material, it gets stuck in the augers or the various components of that machine, deep in that machine, which causes it to be shut down for months on end. And so the machine that we're looking at has that variability, best variability that we've found both in the US companies and in the international companies.
And somewhat of an ease of repair if something does go wrong, that you don't have to drop the engine to change the oil.
Exactly. The RD machine is designed, as I said, it's designed by PhD engineers. And so every component is individually and precisely made for that versus the BET machine has more of a kind of robust kind of farm mentality where a screw for a screw, a pipe for a pipe versus having to have this company specialize and create the pipe or special
Titanium screws and right.
Any other questions for?
Only 6 or 8, but I'll save them for.
Okay. Well, we have previously approved $100,000 for this project, and now we are looking at an additional allocation of $300,000 as recommended by staff.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Those in favor say aye. Aye. It's an exciting project. You know, we're going out, but I love that we're doing it and appreciate the work that both Crystal, you and Joel are putting into this. I have full confidence that we will come up with something very, very exciting. So thank you. We'll move to capital budget, and who will
Going back at it.
they look at each other and who's gonna
I don't mind whatsoever. It's a collaborative effort all the way across in this too. I'll talk, Jason, and when you want to. So as you can see, we've very heavily dedicated a lot of this money to our staff and the staff facilities. That's in keeping with the city and wanting to attract the best top talent to take care of our city in the best possible way. So as you can see, going through these line items that we're proposing over the next couple of years, it's very heavily weighted towards the upkeep and the upgrades to our facilities to make sure that we have the adequate staff and capability necessary to manage a system of this size. So we can go through these line by line, or we can do whatever you want to do.
I think we've had these in front of us. I think if there are specific questions or things you would like to talk about before we address the motion. I want to echo when I read this too. I am thrilled to see that we are putting money into providing a good working condition workplace for our staff. And that's where I'm thrilled to see that we are focusing on some of the staff facilities and some of the maintenance items as well that we've been talking about for quite a while. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Just like with the GIS stuff, giving our facilities folks the things that they need to do their job more efficiently will make all of us better and more efficient. So I think it's the best investment we can make across the board. If you have any individual questions on any item, I'm certainly happy to answer them.
I just echo that. These are municipal facilities and they need to present as spaces where we can do this cutting edge work that you're all talking about. And this has been a theme today. You talked earlier about we're going to be advocating for our staff to have the resources we need to do our jobs well. And there are enormous expectations on your collective staff to take on, things that have been deferred for decades. And I'm really excited to see that you're prioritizing the spaces that you need to do this work. So.
Thank you. That's not to say we're not going to take care of the little stuff that comes up. I'm listening to everybody. The steps that I heard about for Burnett Woods, I've walked many of those already. We have a plan in place to fix those things too. So as you can see, we're giving ourselves a contingency both years for those kind of things that come up so that we can address them quickly and just bring them to your attention. You've already approved the money, but we're going to tell you what you're using it for, kind of like I don't even know what it's called anymore, but a balancing contingency sheet inside of a construction project so that you've allotted 150,000 and I'm going to tell you every month what we're using those things for. So.
And the exceptions as well that you've identified here. I don't see any surprises in here. They're all things that we talk about and prioritize. So I fully support submitting those additional requests above the targeted capital. So appreciate the work that went on there. So we have for us, the staff has requested that we give approval for submission, the proposed capital, and the additional request that will go along with that. Are there any additional questions?
I would just also add, this is about the clearest
I've
request
ever seen.
that I have seen in the 2 years that I've been sitting on this commission. And I know that city council members appreciate the clarity to see what park are we working on? What exactly are we going to accomplish and how much do you want? It doesn't seem like it's that complex to do, but in the past it has been somewhat complex. So I hope that this will be well received.
I'm sure it will.
And the tables that you're seeing now are essentially generated by the brain. We can pivot table those exceptions out because we track those under the consideration tab. So all of these things that you've allowed us the time and patience to build here, we're going to continue to use those to make anything that you want to know a whole lot faster to get to you. Kind of the whole point of the deep dive.
Well, and to Molly's point, that we have on this few pieces of paper, such clarity and vision on where we want to spend our money. I appreciate it.
He only had so much time to write for this report because he did 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah.
I asked him to type so.
If there's no more questions, comments, do I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
There's a motion and second to approve staff's recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much, Joel, and your staff. I know this collaborative and I appreciate all the work that went into this. Robert, for your 2023 plan of work.
So I want to begin and then kind of continue in perpetuity. And the idea is that each week or each month, Joel comes and he has a report of what he's working on and talk about the brain. And again, eventually the brain will be public, but the brain is a ton of data. And it's easy because we have 100 and some properties that we're caring for and projects that come up and people that talk about things that come up that we can be all over. In my mind, a lack of clarity and then also transparency for everybody about what are our priorities.
No, I was just going to ask Thea to move that microphone over here. That's all right. Thank you, Joel.
Sir, here.
Okay. And so the goal is to, it doesn't supply is a timeline of when things happen, right? It's easy to be like, you know, me included. I know the least of anybody here sometimes, but it's easy to be like Inwood Park. Well, so what? We'll get that done by Christmas next year. Like but these things are complex. They have timing, they have processes. And quite frankly, we just have so much staff time in your shop to get these done. So what this is an attempt is to lay out kind of here that in the 4 months I've been here are the top button projects. They're the ones that we're going to be working on next year. And it gives a little bit of a definition of where we're going to be and where we expect to be by the end of the year. And then what we can kind of expect early next year. You know, there's no money attached to this. There's no policy attached to this. This is basically just the park board saying, yep, this plan of work is what we expect. We've got some ideas. And our hope then is that when we get new ideas for stuff, we can add them to this list. Things will come off of this list as, you know, this time next year, Lido Park hopefully will be past a ribbon cutting on that. And so that won't be on the project. And some of these other things will move to different steps. Some of the things on here very clearly, like Owl's Nest, for instance, we saw the great pictures. In the next couple of months, we're going to have cost estimates for that. And we're going to know that this is probably a $1.1 million project that the community is all bought into. Well, now that is not a project that we have the money for. And so expect to break ground in July. That's a project that now gets kind of put back in the list of projects to move down the path. And so it gives kind of some understanding of where we're at with those and some real transparency. And that's what I'm hoping to provide. And then in addition, it does have, and again, there's no money with this, right? Because we've got money in other pockets to do some of this stuff. But number 17 is emerging and ongoing problems, right? Which is much of what was on Joel's 12 days were sinkholes, were sanitary sewer lines, were of some parking at places like Warder and other places. You know, today, the steps of Burnett Woods, these are all the kind of things that we can always be addressing with additional funds. And we're always going to keep our eyes on for emerging projects like that. But these bigger projects, we kind of have our understanding of, and you used guardrails earlier for the biochar, but it's kind of the guardrails of here's where we're focused. We can always change. You know, this is a living document. If in April, we're like, all right, you know what, this project's not really, let's add something else to it, or we've got some time, or we've had more success at staffing than we expected. We can always add stuff to this or subtract stuff, but this kind of lets folks at any one time know kind of where we're at and where we're proceeding down the path. So.
Question, comments?
Only one, which is there's nothing that here. It's a great list and you're going to be really busy. My two comments are make sure this is only 75% of your time because there will always be things that, you know, space. And, you know, we don't want to risk burnout. We've been risking it for long enough. And then number two, we haven't talked much about this, but I want to support, you know, learning development for the leadership of the parks. You know, we talked about how we're doing things that are pioneering that have never been done. Well, that's a lot of time, research and learning. And this is an area of the city where we're leading. And so I want to make sure we have time invested in our people who we're expecting to do a lot with less.
Thank you.
I think that's an important point. Thank you. This doesn't say that all of these projects get done in 2023.
Yeah.
It's where we're focused. And also, I will just also state that these aren't prioritized from 1 to 17, because really number 17 are
Absolutely.
emergencies and safety issues always become our top priority. So
To the extent that they're prioritized, it's just the top two. Just Lytle Park is under construction, and a project of that size, $4.3 million, takes a tremendous amount of time. And for Chris, just recently, we had a drainage issue over top of the tunnel. Some regulations had changed from when the tunnel was put in to now under construction for the park. And through the action of Chris McGee on our team, he was able to work with the Ohio Department of Transportation and change some of the plans to reflect the new realities, and saved us what could have been an unforeseen several $100,000s worth of extra costs. We were able to fix, and that takes a ton of time. And so that's number one, and that $4 million park renovation should be number one. And then two, of course, Smale is just an emergency project, which we're about to talk about, Army Corps of Engineers, but we'll definitely want to, but other than that, you're right. This is kind of the width and breadth.
great.
Mrs. Field, Jen, last year you were drafting the priorities.
I tell you, we've over and over again, but we so appreciate the direction giving and the fact that you can put on 2 pieces of paper here. Here's our priorities in the program. Thank you. Thank you. And I think you're looking for us to give you a nod that yes. Are there any other questions? If not, I'll have entertain a motion as such. So moved. And the second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
And then I will be quick with this last one. We've been talking about this. This is the federal cost share agreement. The
Jason, if I could just stop you. I know you have a time commitment. Is there anything that you would like to add, since you won't be here for commissioners' comments?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think I got my comments today.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you.
Thank you.
For a year with the parks, and thank you very much for what you bring to the board.
See you.
Thanks.
Merry Christmas, honey.
I have so many.
Okay. Thank you.
Please share them with staff.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll turn to you again.
All right. So this is the federal cost share agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers. We've been working with Kevin Frank, who can answer any legal questions you have. Kevin Frank with the Cincinnati Solicitors, City Solicitors Department office, to review this language. This is the project to up the riverfront. I mentioned it a little. We in 2019 signed an MOU that would that other investment in the flood mitigation. This is the feasibility study that basically justifies the federal authorization. And so it's a process we have to do. It'll take a year to 18 months. During that time, Joel and our team will be working with the Army Corps of Engineers to do the economic study to show the economic impact of this. We'll do the environmental study. We'll do kind of some of the very specific soil studies, engineering studies, all to make sure it's justified in the federal government's eyes. During that time, we'll also develop the public partner agreement, which I think I'm getting right at PPA. And we'll get that signed and bring that back for you to actually do the project. So there will be a lot going on during that time. There'll also be the accounting of some of the previous investments we've done, and then how that will relate to the so this is the next step. And like I said, Kevin and I have been on several calls with the attorneys and the engineers for the Army Corps. We feel comfortable with and we're recommending that we move forward with it, along with an initial $300 investment to get the project rolling. I'd like to point out, and Craig was quick to point out, that this $300,000 comes from a project number 162,015, which is a state grant that we got for it has about $376,000 in it. So the initial spending on this, and that's all for erosion mitigation and riverfront stabilization of Smale Riverfront Park. So the $300,000 of it is money we've had sitting here to do all along. Additional funding for this feasibility study will come from the Smale Riverfront Fund, which is currently sitting at about $3.8 million. It's ready to go for this.
Hallelujah.
I want to say I appreciate the fact that you raised this project up and giving it a lot of attention to your earlier comments, the erosion that front area. I don't think any of us recognize the dramatic decrease that we've had in that riverfront space. So thank you for doing that. And also, as you said, this is a project we've all approved. It's a great project. We've got the matching funds identified for the $30 million with money to unlock that $30 million from over 15 million from the. So with that, if there's no more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
And a second. So we have a motion to approve the additional expenditure of 300,000 to begin the waterfront hardening project with the Army Corps. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jason and Joel, for your work on this. With that, Jason, we'll turn over to director's comments.
All right. So much of this has been mentioned already, that I had kind of typed up here, with Rocky's help to always make sure I'm not forgetting anything that's happening. Quickly point out the Rawson Woods Arch. We had a dedication for that this Saturday. It was awesome. The arch, Jim gave a brilliant history of the arch at the dedication, but it had fallen down and had slid into the woods. And everybody thought that it was stolen or something like that. A local citizen retrieved it without our permission necessarily, but as a good Samaritan, and was keeping it and then talked to the park board, I guess, and received approval to fix it up all at their own expense and their own time and labor. And then our team went out last Friday and installed it. And then we had the dedication. It was just a great day. There were some great pictures on social media and did a great job. Sarah coming out on a Saturday to take some great photos. And there was probably, what did you say, 30 or 40 citizens there from the Clifton area that were all celebrating this. And so that corner now looks like Rawson Woods instead of just like, what is that in there? Why is there fencing? That must be the backside of a park. But now
Good article in the Inquirer.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's nice that they picked it up.
California Woods. California Woods is now part of the Old Growth Forest Network. This is a national network of old growth forests. We are the first old growth forest in the network in Hamilton County. There are 23 in the state, but we're the first one in Hamilton County. It was just a really cool event. It's largely symbolic, but what it does is it just talks to how important it is to preserve that space. The event was wonderful. It was attended by about 15 or 20 people. And then our team that work at the nature center there took us out and showed us around the woods and showed us, we have some of I encourage anybody that wants to take a fun trip, we can get it set up. But they showed us we have some of the tallest of specific species of trees in the state, if not the country, in woods. And so it was really fascinating to get out there and kind of learn some of the specifics about that. They also told me a ton about how mushrooms break down broken trees and then turn that back into, and it was just fascinating. So my education continues, but it was a great day. I want to point out, and we have a photo for this. The city manager instituted the Public Service Awards of Excellence. And the city manager's new this year. And so we had these, and we nominated Matt DeBona. You guys have heard of Matt DeBona a bit for various things, but he was awarded the Cincinnati Parks Award of Excellence in Public Service Award for 2020. And it was a really cool ceremony. There's a lot, they did them for all the various departments, but it was really great. It was last Friday. And Joel did a great job of convincing him that he was going to City Hall for a meeting. So 1 minute before you walked into council chambers for this was our employee of the year. So really great.
We hear a lot about Matt throughout the year, and it's employees that really make this system what it is. So I'm really thrilled that you're recognized, and he's recognized by the city for what he does.
Very well deserved.
Exactly.
So a quick note about an emergency closure. So Bard's Trail in Burnett Woods, the lower portion of the Bard Owl Trail in Burnett Woods was closed for safety. There was some, I think, was that a sinkhole situation or what was that situation there? There was a...
I think that is the one.
Yeah, exactly. And so we've had to close that. We're, like Joel mentioned earlier, we're in emergency repairs are in progress, but we had to close that down. And then lastly, I just want to point out that two volunteer opportunities. One is the annual Christmas bird count. And so there are two opportunities to help track and understand the changes in bird populations for folks that are interested. December 18th, the team is meeting at Spring Grove Cemetery, and December 26th at Stanberry Park. And so volunteers work for half day, either 8 to 12 or 12:30 to 5. or they can do a full day, and anybody can sign up for that on our website to help with the bird counts, which is pretty fun. And then lastly, the MLK Day of Service. Every year we participate in the National Day of Service for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We have volunteer opportunities available in Burnett Woods, Pyatt Park, Hopkins Park, and California Woods. Anybody interested in helping out with those opportunities, again, can volunteer on our website or check out our social media to find out more details about that. So some fun stuff. I believe that is everything I have. Was it? I think that's all of it, right? We did the tree, we did the. Yep, I had a couple videos ready for this, but we ended up getting them throughout the day. So again, just thank you so much. This has just been a thrill all the time. We definitely had a lot more work this meeting than some of our last ones. And so maybe that's a sign that we're picking things up, but thank you so much and happy holidays to all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions for the director?
No.
No, great job.
Well, then I'll open it up to colleagues. Any input from our commissioners? For the
It just gets better and better to be here. I can't tell you how much better it is to sit in this chair today than
It's
6
a
months
far
ago.
cry from 5
Yeah.
or 6 years
Yeah.
ago, right?
Yes, it is. And I've been here a long time.
I'll just echo that. I said it last meeting, but those of you sitting in this room, what you contribute to these parks is just incredible. And when we hear today just how much is going on and how much of some of the things that we've talked about for years are being hammered out and being attacked by the staff, and just the visibility in what we're doing and the focus and just what you're doing for staff as well, as far as facilities that make them want to come to work every day. So it's all, we're moving in the right direction. The sun is now coming out in Eden
There we
Park.
go.
It's a great day. So thank you. I'll just add as well for on behalf of all of our colleagues as well, that have a great holiday season here. Enjoy the balance of the year. And we really look forward to great things happening in Cincinnati Parks in 2023. So thank you. Thank you very much. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, I'm going to adjourn our December meeting, and thank you all for participating. Thank you, Kevin Frank, for your continued watch over us.
Yes, thank you. I'm watching you secretly from
From an undisclosed location. Thank you, Kevin. And